Hi guys, just a quick overview of my mini Talon and the build. All of the parts I have used will be in the video description, and I will also put links to all of the 3D printed parts I've used on this plane. I don't think I've done anything too out of the ordinary here with this build, but I know people will ask about it anyway, so here goes. Also, if you are following my Facebook page, I do have pictures in an album with a lot more details here too. So I guess the main difference here really is I decided to paint this grey like my first plane, the Skywalker, but this time I wanted to try and protect the paintwork a bit, so I decided to laminate the entire plane. So the wings are fairly easy, so is the tail. It was actually the main body that was a little bit harder, but it turned out okay anyway, and the thing is just so strong now, it just feels so rigid. So I guess starting up the front here, I 3D printed this canopy here, and it is designed to take the GWS 360 degree servo. Unfortunately, the first Maiden attempt, there was a bit of an accident which resulted in that servo dying. I will show a clip of that shortly. So temporarily, I've just got a 3D printed plate here just to hold the HD camera. Without that on the nose, trying to fly it with just the FPV camera, I couldn't get the CG right. So I have a new 360 servo on the way, and I will set it up so that both the DJI HD camera and this Foxit FPV camera will both be on the 360 pan. I 3D printed one of these skids, again link to that in the video description, and I 3D printed this pitot tube holder. These are just both gooped in place, as is the canopy. Taking a look at the back here, I have a Skywalker 60 amp ESC. I always like to try and get a bit of airflow to my ESCs, and I've seen a few people put it there. I thought that was a good choice, so that's going in there, staying nice and cool. The 4 servos are MG91 Metal Gear servos. In the back here, I have the Sunny Sky 2216, and that's a 1250 kV, and that is with an 8x6 APC prop. Okay, and then on the wings, as you can see, on one I have the Dragon Link UHF antenna. The receiver itself is actually in here, which I'll show in a second. And then out on the right wing here, I have the Partum 800 milliwatt 1.2 VTX. On the underside here, you can see I've got another 3D printed skid for the tail section. You'll also see that's my Dragon Link antenna from the bottom there. And on the other wing, there's my VTX, which is just held in place by some clear packing tape. The Dragon Link antenna is held in by a 3D printed part as well. On the, let me just get that to focus, on the bottom part of the antenna, what I've done is I've cut the tube and I've heat shrinked the two together. And what that does is it keeps it kind of nice and straight, but it does allow it to bend during landings. Okay, so we'll take a look inside the electronics bay. First of all, I have used the standard cover. It is very flimsy as it comes, but what I have done is put some flat carbon fiber spars into it. I think there's 2 here, 1 in the middle, and then 2 here. On top, you can't really see them because of the paint. And then on the inside, I've got another 2 here and another 2 here. I mean, this is really strong now. You really can't bend it. To keep that in place, to hinge it, I basically ran a piece of laminate across here and ironed that on. And then I ironed another piece on this way like that to help the hinge. And to take it out, all I did was put this folded over piece of clear packing tape, so you can just grip that to open it up. And you don't need anything to fasten it in place because it's quite a tight fit, and with the airflow going this way, that's never going to come open. So inside here, first of all, you'll see I have used a 3D printed cage rather than the wooden or plywood one that is supplied with the kit. And I've got my Fly Dream autopilot with the GPS mounted to the top of it. In the back here, it's quite messy, but I basically have a 12 volt UBEC down there for my video gear. And I have the current sensor. And here I have a little 5 volt UBEC. So rather than using the BEC built into the ESC, which I never do, I use an external BEC. And the reason for this is if this dies, you know, ESCs do die, then basically you still have control of everything else. Whereas if you use this for its 5 volt BEC and it dies, you lose all control to everything. Okay, and around the front here you can see this is where the cable comes in from the wing, and that's the UHF cable going into my Dragon Link micro receiver. At the moment all I've got is 2 cables connected, and that's the RSSI and I have the PPM. There will be another cable when I get my servo back on here for my 360-degree pan, but for now it's just that simple. My XT60 down there for my battery, and basically, and this is a battery I'm using in the Mini Talon. It is just a Turnigy 5 amp 4S with a 25 to 35C discharge. And to hit CG with this, the battery is placed around there, and that gives me a CG of around 55mm. Okay, just to cover a few final points. The first one is, I know a lot of people ask what I painted it with, and it was just basic grey primer from an auto store, nothing fancy. Took a couple of coats and that was it. All of the carbon fibre spars and the 2 halves of the fuse were glued together with this E6000, which is basically very similar to Goop. The video antenna out on the wing here is a VAS cloverleaf, although I have plastered it to that black. And the FPV camera here is a Foxeer Falcor, which is very similar to the Predator 4, which I'm running on some other planes, and these are just excellent cameras. For the first Maiden attempt, I had someone throw this for me, but unfortunately it kind of slipped out of their hands and went straight up, which I was unable to recover from. As we know, the Mini Talon doesn't really like to be thrown at an upward angle for launch, it prefers to be thrown level. As I mentioned earlier, the damage caused by this crash was a damaged 360 servo, but the plane actually survived very well. It doesn't even look like it's been in an impact, and that's probably thanks to the lamination. Next, I did something very much out of the ordinary for me, and that was I decided to use launch mode to fly this for the first time. The only reason I did this was because I'm very confident in the MyFly Dream, and it has a preset profile for the Mini Talon specifically, so I was pretty confident it would do a good job. So in this flight nothing interesting really happened. I trimmed out the model. After doing that I landed and did a servo center on the autopilot, and then I just did another flight where I tested the stabilized and return to home modes, and they both worked fine. So on that note, I will leave you a bit of fun low flying with the Mini Talon.
Launch mode activated.